it being slightly after
At
6:30.
9 o'clock. You could do that. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Morning.
Good evening.
Just wake up, did you, Toby?
Adjustments to the agenda.
I have two. Under communication and public comment, I don't see him, but Nick Keel.
Yes,
Kyle would like to speak on the allocation for the West Library. And under 6, new business, I need an E, town meeting article discussion.
Is Nick here? No. Yes. No.
Not yet.
So where you got him plugged in? Communications and public comments. Never mind. Acceptance of the minutes, December 27th, 2017.
I'll move that we accept the minutes as printed.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I have a second. To accept the minutes of December 27th, 2017. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That's carried. Communications and public comments.
No, he'll be here.
We'll move on and come back to them, I think. Any other communications and public comments at this time? Fearing none. Unfinished business, beaver management. Rachel Shaw.
Well, there's a slight adjustment to that. What we're doing, this is Tatiana Schreiber, and I'm Rachel Shaw, we're on the Conservation Commission. The beaver management is something we're really interested in, and hoping that there'll be some money in the budget for a flow device or two. But what we ended up doing recently at through the Conservation Commission is deciding to apply for Vermont Watershed Grants, and because it's through the state, we didn't think it made sense to apply for a flow device because they have their own program of making flow devices, and it would it didn't seem like they would fund that. So we decided to apply for a different purpose, and there's a copy of our application in process there, and it's not quite done. We were just fine-tuning it, but the essentials are there, and we're interested in looking at the town of Westminster watershed as
Can I say something?
yeah, please do.
So previously, as you know, Rachel had said we wanted to do a flow device for beaver management and requested some funding for that, and we think of that as kind of a pilot project to see how that works. But in the meantime, it seemed prudent to identify throughout the town areas that are vulnerable to flooding, because the flood resilience plan from the town says that we should do that. It says in the town plan that to encourage flood resilient communities, we should identify the areas that are most in need of protection to improve our flood resiliency. And those include wetland areas and upland forested areas. They also include some other types of areas, but those are the ones we decided to focus on. So, so that's why we decided this Vermont Watershed Grant has 3 categories. There's categories for planning and inventory, and then there's categories for implementation, and then there's categories for education. And so we decided that we should focus on the planning and inventory category because it's it's what we need to do first. So,
Yeah. So, it's due on Monday, and the max is $3,500. There's a budget that we wrote up that, includes collaboration with Windham Regional Planning Commission and, some outside consultants that we would hire to look at, different upland forests and wetlands in Westminster, and we would also include some student work,
yeah,
an
we have,
internship.
yeah, we have the possibility, we've made contact with folks at Antioch, who might be able to help us with an intern. We're not sure if that's gonna be the best approach, but, they've expressed support.
What about that, I don't know what it's called, but it's in Marlborough, or in that direction. I contribute money to them every year, but
Bonneville?
Bonnievale.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What about them?
Well, yeah, Patty Smith, who works for Beak, could possibly be involved with the part of the project. So there's three parts to the project. One would be to identify these areas, the areas that are most vulnerable. The second would be to sort of characterize those areas, like what are they like, what are their characteristics, what kind of wildlife live there, and stuff like that. Why are they important to the flood resiliency? And, and then the third part would be to do community feedback, once we've identified these areas, to hold some community listening sessions to get feedback from people who live in or near those areas to find out what their concerns or interests are in protecting those areas. And then produce, well, before we do the feedback sessions, produce some kind of, or maybe after, I'm not sure, some kind of brochure, documenting the characteristics of these areas. And then once we have that community feedback, we'll have that documented too, so then we can move forward on thinking about recommendations or strategies for protecting those areas. So this is just a grant to sort of do that initial inventory and assessment of the areas.
So you're thinking these areas are ones that can contribute to flood resilience, or would be vulnerable to being damaged by flooding, which is two different things.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. The upland forested areas would be areas that could contribute to flood resilience, by maintaining the forested nature of the areas, because the trees absorb water and decrease the water table and stabilize the soil and prevent erosion and runoff. So that's from the town plan. And the wetland areas also can mitigate flooding by, if they're maintained properly, being areas for the flood water to go. But we're also looking at any vulnerabilities that they have. But the main idea is the areas that need protecting in order to mitigate against flooding.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process, we would of course want to know what areas are most in danger of flooding, which we know the town's already done some work on that, so we know what some of those areas are. But we may discover that there are other areas that are prone to flooding that we don't even know about, that we need to be in the process of it. We might discover that. Because even just talking to people, as we've been talking about this, people have been saying things like, yeah, in my area I've seen much more water coming down this way than there ever used to be, and stuff like that.
And so the grant are there matching funds required from the town?
No.
So we just.
No, all we're asking for from the town would be a letter of support saying that the town supports this project. We're not, you could match it, in the budget it says, do you have any, not match it, but do you have any other sources of funding? And we put in cash and in-kind support. We'll be doing a lot of our volunteer labor. And there's a lot of maps that are already available or that we could have made for free, so there'll be in-kind support for that. We did include a GPS unit and software, which we think then the Conservation Commission could have, which could be useful in the future. So.
Well, I think we should support the grant application.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any, I was interested to know if the select board had any, wanted to inform us about any prior work that had been done in this area that we should know about to make sure we, because we saw as we were working here the other day that this road erosion inventory is in process. So we would build on that, because that would give us information about areas that are in danger. But is there other work that's been done that we should be aware of?
Not specifically to flood resiliency, other than our development has been subject to the Vermont state law now,
Right.
where every application goes in front of them when it's in the floodplain. The map that you just referenced is brand new. That is our work that is coming with Act 64 for better roads. And that has total flood resiliency written all over it, with any type of a runoff from our road systems. So you're welcome to
And that's
when
in
that's
process now. It says preliminary, so we assume there's another.
there is.
That's
Yeah,
coming along.
we should get it by July. The final copy of that plan.
Okay, good. So that fits in with our timetable, I think, in terms of figuring out what are some of these most vulnerable areas, and then, yeah.
So these are fairly competitive grants, but we're hopeful because we never put this, what seems like this area hasn't gotten many or applied for many of these grants, and they were wanting more people to apply for the planning ones. So,
Right.
yeah.
So it's the board's favor that I write a letter of support.
Do we need a
Right,
motion?
I was a little confused. I thought they were writing a letter and then we were just signing the letter, but what you're asking for is for you to write the letter on behalf.
This is what I was told.
Yeah, we just need.
Whatever you guys do.
Well, I
I was just
mean,
trying to get out.
if you're comfortable with just writing the letter, that'd be great. If you want us to write a template or something, we can do that, but
It's up to you.
if you
I'm
just,
capable.
yeah, that'd be great.
And the board's in favor of this?
Yes.
And I'm gonna sign it in
And you
my
can-
name, but you are
On behalf of the select.
on behalf of the select board.
I think that would be.
And it's to the Conservation Commission, correct?
Yes. Great, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Hopefully we'll get it in
When are you here?
No,
February.
February. Oh,
And then
pretty
the
soon
project
then.
actually starts in April or May, and continues through the next January. And we were thinking that, this is kind of big, what we have in mind, and the $3,500 may not go very far, but it will give us a place to start, and then we may look for additional funds if we want to kind of expand it.
Rachel, I send it to you,
Yep.
email.
Yep.
Do I have your,
All right.
It's here,
It's on
isn't it?
the-
It's on the app right here.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that.
Here, you can have that.
Want to stay for the next part of the
Oh, you can do that.
Where's the second?
And you need it by,
The grant has to be submitted by Monday, so.
Tomorrow.
Friday
Yeah,
would be
Monday's a
great. I mean,
holiday.
Monday's a holiday,
Monday, yeah.
by midnight probably, I would think, but we should probably get it by 5 p.m. on Monday.
Thanks very
Okay.
much.
We're gonna jump back to communications and public comments now that Nick is here.
Thank you for squeezing me in. I'll make this quick. I'm here on behalf of Westminster West Library. I did not get a chance to review last year's minutes. I believe it was probably December we had the last conversation. But it was my memory that we came before the town to ask for additional funds, not because we're an outside organization, but because we were too late to get on the warning. And that the board recognized that we were in fact a town-owned organization, so that from then on, it would be simply included in the budget, and we wouldn't have to come back 2 more years. And then Russ called me last night and questioned whether that was in fact the case. I see that there is an article asking for this, so I'm just looking for some clarity, and also if we have to now scurry around and get, what is it, 125 signatures?
124.
124 with 1 to be safe. What is the time schedule on that at this point? 18th. Does any,
Wasn't it, it's always been the case in the past that once it was improved, it went for the next 2 or 3 years?
well, my understanding, and this is where I need some clarity from the board, is that because we're not an outside organization, we're not asking for funding, we are in fact owned by the town. It is a town organization, and my understanding also was that the funding is already in the proposed budget for the coming
Yeah.
years. Is that the case?
That was.
So we're asking for money that's already been allocated in the budget, and if the town approves the budget, then in fact that additional funding has been approved.
So we don't need it as an article.
The money put in there was my mistake, if this is correct. I did pull in your packets the minutes from last year. They did submit signatures, and they did get an article on the warning. So typically, doesn't matter if they're town-owned or not, such as the Gazette, we make
Because that
um,
them
is
go.
not town-owned.
The Gazette is town-owned, it's a town paper with our
Is it-
Activities Commission. So they went 3 years running, and so I quickly today, after I talked to Nick, said, gosh, I'm not sure. I just was trying to give him a heads up, just in case he wasn't planning on it, that this might be an issue. So
Well, you and I actually talked about this in September, I believe, and you thought we were set.
that's it, but
Can
I,
I just say something?
again,
I mean, I was on the board of the library for 10 years, and during that process, and I was the president of the board for part of that time, and during that time, that's how it always went, that we had to ask for the money through the signatures and the petition, but once it was approved, then it was in the budget for the next 2-3 years.
That is correct.
Well, it has to be done 3 years in a row,
Right.
and then that amount stays in the budget from that on until you change it.
And that's what they did.
And that's what the legally, and I think for clarity, I think it would be a good idea to get the 125 signatures. I know it's a pain in the neck, I just think it would be.
It's
You've got plenty of time to do it, and it's a cause that's,
well, we've got 8 days to do it, and I don't know what this weekend looks like for people. That's typically when you can get people to go out and do it, so it's going to be a stretch.
yeah.
And there was no objection to it last year. There was no comments.
No, and I don't think
And
there
it's-
will be this year, I
and
just
it's-
think we ought to continue to do it
We'd be setting a precedent if we
by the
change
way
it.
the way we've always done it, and I think
So-
we should continue to do it that way.
So this year and then next year.
Then next year they will need it one more time, and then
it's in
that
the budget
$4,500 will be there, period.
84.
84.
Right.
Unless
As
they
long-
wanted
right, if they change it by
9,000 and then
$1,
start
they
the
have to start
process
over
all
again.
over
So as
again?
long as he stays.
Well, we
at
won't
80.
do that. If we change it, it'll be for more than $1.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It has to be exactly the same as you had before.
Yeah.
My only question was, could they fall back to 42? I don't think they can, because once they went to 84 and got it passed, they're stuck with 84 for the next 2 years.
Well, then what's the point in having the petition?
No, that's
We're
what I'm
not-
saying. They,
Yeah.
in other words, let's say he came and said, well, forget it. Well, I'll go back to the 42 that we've had for years. Once they went to the voters and asked for the 84 last year, you eliminate the choice to go back to that amount
did-
that you were
That's
getting.
kind of
Well,
nuts.
it's
you
not.
did that with the Gazette. The Gazette petitioned for $400 the next year, which was this past one. They didn't, so it resorted back to what they had.
I think
So it will resort back to the 40.
if he doesn't get the article passed, I think we would go back to the 42 because that's what we always
That's
do.
what I would say.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, we will get the signatures one way or the other.
You want some signatures now?
Well, if I had a petition written up, that would be
Where,
great.
oh, you have to.
I know.
We have to,
No,
and I'm assuming that I can
I
use the
remember.
same wording as last year's.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I have to find
We don't tell people how to write up there.
Well,
But-
actually,
it's pretty simple. Perfect.
yeah, no, I actually asked for some instruction to make sure that it was worded properly. But I will try and dig up that petition from last year.
Yeah.
Make a blank.
Yeah, she'll make
If you
it
have a
blank.
blank, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel.
Yep.
We'll sign to it.
Oh, I would be appreciative.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Okay. New dog ordinance.
In your packet is the new animal control ordinance.
Is there a difference between a dog ordinance and animal control?
Because
did
the
you
animal
say-
control does more than just dogs. It does all domestic animals, pets, and wolf hybrids. So
So is it possible that Putney hasn't got any ordinance at all related to animals? Because they had that incident where dog was,
the state stepped in on that.
oh, the state did? Good.
You're talking about the same one I'm thinking you're talking about.
Two bull terrier, what do they call them?
Pit bulls.
Pit bulls.
The health officer stepped in.
Oh, good.
So in your packet, you have the new one, the old one, and procedures. So I don't need a discussion now unless you have questions, but
So the present dog registration violation procedures are old, or existing. And what about the animal control ordinance that you've got?
January 2018, it's written right on the
That's the
top.
new one, but
That's
what's
the
this
new
one?
That's the old, that's the one that's in
So that
existence.
goes with the present dog registration.
That's correct.
Okay.
And where is the new one?
The one that says January
January
2018.
Oh, I thought you said that was the old one. Oh,
Okay.
gotcha, never mind, gotcha. Here we go.
We will all read it over carefully,
Yes, we will.
won't we?
Yes.
And the article will be written by Noel Hoffman in the next Gazette.
Good.
She's going to do a series of them
Good.
so that they're not, too lengthy. They're just to the point. This one will be talking about registration and why registrations are so needed.
Good.
So, let's see, so the next Gazette will be the February one,
That's correct.
right? Yeah.
Just in
And
time
we'll
for
have something about the clinic, and then will we have something at town meeting, like a poster or
You asked for that. I'm working on it. Some
Okay.
sort of an easel or something.
Yeah, you could do some artwork or something,
Oh.
or like a,
Yeah, little stick people,
puppy
little
dog.
stick
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, okay,
No, I'll get, I will have something
Yeah.
at town meeting.
okay.
Okay, Community Crime Watch.
I'm sorry to say that the state police have not got back to me on that. I'm going to keep it on this agenda so that we do not pass it off. I gave them dates and he has not called me back. I've called him twice, talked to,
So obviously January 16th will be out.
yes. So we might end up dragging him into March if we have to.
What is that? I'm sorry.
The Community Crime Watch, which is.
Oh, okay.
So, and they're terribly busy, so I can understand why they just can't get back to us on the phone. Abandoned mobile home. Nice pictures.
These are
Did you
the,
go out with a thaw gun and thaw all the snow?
I
or-
did. It took me a long time to remove all that snow around that trailer. I have a series of 6 pictures. You have 2. I'm willing to pass these around so you can look at the whole.
I think this is
Again, I can pass these around. There's a few more pictures in there. It is definitely an issue, and the town has, in the past, stepped out on that limb and cleaned up the mess and then put a lien on the property. It hasn't been done for a few years, quite a few years actually, but it has been done. My fear is that this property isn't worth what we could possibly get into it with all the cleanup. But that being said, doesn't make it any less of a need to make this area safe.
Nothing we're gonna do to spring.
Of course, it would have to wait till after wet season and that whole, because there'll be dumpsters involved, there'll be salvage to be had.
So you're saying that town's gonna clean it up?
I'm not saying that, that's your call. I'm saying that that's what should happen. Obviously, the folks that are still trying to settle the estate are not in a process right now of, are in a position to take care of this, so.
Would you come back to us with how you're gonna solicit bids?
What I would do is I would get you an estimate from Ruggiero, and the town equipment can take it down. I mean, trailer comes down very easily.
Yeah, they can crush it up in just the containers for.
Exactly, and I can get you some pricing, but I'm working forward, I'm still hoping for a response from the family, but I'm not there yet.
My pen doesn't go with that
Oh,
either, by the way.
sorry.
Nice pen.
Moving back.
Yes, I do.
It's a lot of trees.
And this is the road right here?
Yes, it is.
Must have taken the pictures in the spring.
We
These are
could
just
claim
coming
this,
out.
we're claiming this town forest then.
Good.
That's the petition for the additional 4,200.
Why did you take these pictures of trees?
Because there's trash amongst them.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Can you sign this, they have to have a mailing address or
So
your
do you-
physical address, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
So this is a working project, you don't need anything from us at this point in time?
That's correct.
Okay.
Upside down.
Any other unfinished business at this time? Hearing none, we'll go on to new business. We have a personnel matter and an executive session.
I'll move that we go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter and invite the town manager.
Nope.
This is not, I don't know what it's about, so how would I
This is
know?
about town clerk and assistant town clerk.
Okay, that's what I need to know. So, we're inviting the town clerk and the town clerk assistant, or assistant town clerk.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for a personnel matter, inviting the town clerk and the assistant town clerk and the select board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we will go into an executive session after other business. Community sand at the town shop, update.
We have had the cameras up for 2 weeks. No outstanding sand violations, but we did cite today, we cited a gentleman for illegal dumping of snow in our driveway.
Oh, was that the pile that was out in the road?
He was disgusted with the management of back Westminster Road. So I happened to be there. I witnessed the whole thing. And by the time I had come back, which was about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, that pile that he had dumped to start with, I was just going to kick it to the side to start with. It wasn't that much. He had put about a yard to a yard and a half of snow in the entranceway.
What's in the
So-
town garage?
At the town garage before the for the sand pile. So Josh cited him because of his attitude. He was going to give him a warning and tell him, smarten up, and that didn't happen. So
What was the reason that he didn't like? He took the snow from back Westminster Road and didn't want it.
he took it from his own home, obviously, because there was a lot of it, and he was complaining about how we managed to plow and maintain back Westminster Road. So anyway.
The sand pile's fine, we got other
It is,
problems. Or other.
Well, we're
Oh, it's a good thing we had the cameras up.
monitoring it, apparently.
Good plan. Citizen of the Year, that's another executive, lots of executive session.
Can we do both at the same time or just one?
Yes, you can do them both.
I'm making a motion that we go into executive session to discuss the Citizen of the Year and the dedication of the town report.
I'll second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to go into an executive session to discuss Citizen of the Year and dedication of the town report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We will go into executive session for these two items after the previous executive session was done, which is still after other business.
You're right on the wall. You
Yeah,
sound so professional.
I hope to tell you.
You polished your roll down.
Town meeting article, discussion.
Discussion. There's a couple things. In your packet, you have a mock draft of what your articles will look like if everything goes as what we think it's going to go. Article 5 is what we just decided upon. We know that there's energies out there for Sevitz to come back with their request. And then we have just the normal articles that are always on the warning. So I thought you should see that before next meeting, which we'll be acting on. The next piece of paper you have in your packets is the select board's report. We need this sooner than later. If you guys could read it, mark it up, add, subtract, whatever you want to do, but I gave you a draft of your report to go into the town report.
When are you gonna have it by?
She's asking for them by Friday, by the 15th, which is a Monday, so it would be Tuesday because it's a holiday.
So next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Okay.
And at this point, is there any other discussion you need? We just talked about the easel or some sort of a dog
Encouragement.
encouragement. Is there anything else I should be working on for town meeting?
Fletcher always announces at the beginning of the meeting that there's the rabies clinic, the time, the date, and the clerks will be there to. So I don't know if you want to go off of that. I don't know what else you have to do from that, but it's always announced at the beginning of town meeting.
We just have that paper easel, and I'm not gonna draw pictures on it.
So we're
So
gonna
I think
have,
as many things as
there will be one more article added to this as far as the Westminster West Library, correct?
No, it's in there.
it's in there.
It's number 5.
Okay, yep, sorry.
And this is, like I said, this is nothing
I didn't
permanent.
think so.
We aren't positive that Sevitz is going to do it. We aren't positive that the library is going to do it. So these are just what.
But they did have their petition out, so I
Yes.
assume that they probably will.
I was just wondering if the clinic had been set yet.
Yes, March 24th, 10 to 12, town garage, $10.
10 to 12.
10 to 12. $10. Dr. Benny and will be there to register dogs, which the fee did not go up. $9 spayed, neutered, 13.
You need to
Non-spayed.
register your dog as
Right.
often as you can.
But how often do you need a rabies shot?
Every 3 years unless it's a pup.
Oh, okay. So mine's
But it says on your
It will say on your
was
license.
set
Yeah.
on 2017, so.
Your expiration date is on the license that we
Oh, it's the
gave.
expiration date that's on?
It's on your license.
Said 2000.
Just look at your
So she
certificate,
needs to do it
your
again.
license.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you did it 3 times a year, that would be $27 a year that would go to the town. That would be a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Anything else on town meeting articles at this time? Not. Minister's report.
We have 3 things. Westminster meets did not go in a sale as we thought. It's now back to a public auction, public sale. All the information is in your packet, which is unfortunate. The second thing is you in your packet have a resignation from the Windham Regional Commission from Norm Wright, and attached to that is a letter of interest to fill the position from Bobby Kilburn. I will put this in the Gazette because we did get yelled at one time that we filled the position without notification, so I don't think there's a line waiting, but we should definitely put it in the Gazette to recognize the position's open. And I would need a motion to accept his resignation.
Who is Bobby Kilburn? Who is, do we know anything about Bobby Kilburn?
I've met Bobby a couple different times. I don't know where she
Barbara
works.
Taylor's daughter, isn't she?
Oh, it's a woman.
I think she's Barbara Taylor's daughter,
Oh,
I think.
I move we accept the resignation of Norm Wright from the planning commission.
I'll second it. What was his, do you know, because if we appoint somebody to fill, they only fill into, was this term a 1-year term, 2-year term, or?
You appoint every year. It's the list of appointments every year. Typically, if someone had interest to actually participate, they would let them. We have 2. We have Stephen
So is this-
Dotson, and we have Norm Wright, and now Norm is getting
So when he's resigning, he's not resigning in his term. He's actually resigning right now because his term will be up in March, right?
That's correct. But
So
there's-
his intention is not to serve his rest of his term out.
That's correct. He's done. And they only meet like, and I don't know, and I really shouldn't speak about this, but 3 or 4 times a year is what I got out of the conversations. But like I just said, I don't think you should rush into it and automatically appoint Bobby Kilburn. I think it should go in the Gazette, stated as an open position to see if there's any other people that are interested. That way, it's out there and it's open to anyone,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to make a decision on what you'd do.
No matter what we appoint this person.
That's correct. So that's my recommendation, is to put it in the Gazette and
Same as we do all our positions.
Did you actually accept him? Did you really say he accepted?
no, you haven't
We haven't got a
voted yet.
second
No,
on
you
it
didn't
yet.
vote.
Yeah, I thought I heard a second.
You
Yeah,
did.
Craig
You
seconded it.
seconded it. but you
Susan
didn't vote.
started it.
Motion's been moved and seconded to accept the resignation of Norm Wright from Windham Regional Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good job, Sheldon. Good job.
Those opposed. And this is effective immediately.
signature.
WCS report. Oh, have you done that yet? Not yet,
No,
done that.
your next item is the report from Windham County Sheriff. I'm just trying to keep you abreast of what he's doing and how he's doing with it. At this point in time, $35,472 of revenue has been generated from tickets and arrests. Town's portion of that is about 40%. They are a tad behind on their hours. Point of interest, Josh has training for next 4 months. We're going to lose him to training, and then he's coming back. They're gonna fill his position with a new officer, which I have not met yet, and I'm drawing a blank at his name, to fill the position to fill these hours. But Josh is going to be a class, I think he's class 2, and he's going to be a class 3 when he gets out of his training.
So this has Tyler Cook's name in it, you know. Is there some reason?
What I did is I gave you just the bottom one. I could have printed out all of these to
So this
you.
is the only thing that's relevant?
That's correct.
Okay, gotcha.
It's been Josh for the last,
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
I can tell you when he first started.
No, that's all right, I just,
Sheldon's the only one that started.
October 1st.
okay.
If you want the whole report,
No,
I
I
can
just
definitely
said
give it.
Sheldon was looking at something.
Sheldon got it because he's been most interested in the activities of that.
Special.
So I do have other copies.
How far
of it.
behind the hour on hours, so that was my,
Well, I
Because we
had the
have
same, well, actually, I had the same
we have
question.
another
It's
contract
Susan,
coming up in March.
I know, but I was the same as he was talking about her, you know, going like, I don't see his name but one day, so.
Also, the last item that's in your packet is the half-year budget report of actuals spent to date, revenue and expenditures. That's it.
Anybody want, this revenue, anything jumping out, Nancy, that's,
Looking pretty good, actually, at this stage. Is that due to prepaid taxes?
It wasn't tons. It was this. There was a bit, but it wasn't like glaringly. Oh my God, no.
Good.
Only 2 people actually did 2018 anticipated taxes.
Great.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Good sum of money, but only 2 people did it.
Mm-hmm.
I will place this on the next
Paid your
agenda
taxes.
so that you can have some time to digest it and
Okay.
if you have any more questions.
boards and commissions.
We just have openings. The DRB is full. And the Planning Commission is where we're needing a few more. Conservation Commission is full right now. Activities Commission needs a few, so I keep putting them in the Gazette. Hopefully keep getting, slowly but surely, people to sign up, so.
And then we have the position that Norm Ryan's has just been vacated.
But that's just the point, isn't it? That's not like you've got to run for
Could you speak up down there instead of mumbling, please?
I'm talking to myself.
Ah,
it. It was all about Sweet Harlow too, let me tell you.
Well, a little bit was, but not necessarily.
yeah.
Any other business at this time? Hearing none, we'll go into executive session.